So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to just share some quick information with you before I turn this over to Terry, who's our speaker for today. So I want to thank you for joining us today on this presentation about how to run a great meeting. Where these quarterly leadership calls are intended to help the club leaders with best practices, ideas to help you work on your club and things that you can do to inject vibrancy into what you're doing. But I'm going to share some quick updates with you before we get started. So we were awarded, our district was awarded the Rotary Young Professional Grant. So that's what RYP stands for there. And there was an email that went out from Rotary International in January, I believe, and there was a very quick window at turnaround time of which to apply for the grant. For $15,000 was the maximum you could ask for. So our district decided to apply for that grant, and you have to use the funds to either renew Rotary, so engage your existing Rotary base of Rotary Young Professionals, or to discover Rotary, so to attract new people to Rotary. We decided we put together a group of existing Rotary Young Professionals to help come up with an idea of what it was, how we would use that money if we were to be awarded the grant. And so our team came up with an idea, and we opted to apply under the umbrella of Renew Rotary, which is in alignment with everything that we've been talking about in terms of membership. And when I say that membership, that to me that means just being a great club, because being a great club, you're going to attract other people naturally. And so we were awarded the full $15,000, and so now we are in the true planning stages and implementation, of course. Towards the end of this presentation, you're going to see the dates for the different events. We're going to be hosting 4 of them throughout Idaho to try to encourage as much participation as possible. I'm still looking for people to help with the planning and implementation of these events. So if you have people in your clubs that you think would enjoy doing a little bit of event planning with us, that would be great. We're going to be reaching out to you here in the next few months and asking you to nominate people from your club. So to explain, the definition of a Rotary Young Professional in Rotary terms is any Rotarian that is between the ages 18 to 40. So you'll have the opportunity to nominate young professionals from your club to participate in this special event. And then every club will have somebody selected. So there's 80 statewide. So every club can get at least one person in, maybe 2, depending on how many you nominate. But those that are selected, we're going to ask your club to sponsor them at $50 a member. Part of the grant requirement is that we have club and district participation in the investment of it. And so it's a pretty nominal dollar amount from a club perspective, but it's going to be a great event, and I think it's going to be really exciting for those involved, and hopefully that'll help them become more engaged, and then of course share the word of Rotary with others. So again, more information to come on the nomination and selection process. We have a group of people that are working on that right now, and you'll be given instructions on what that's going to look like. And then next, I'm also looking for some people to help with social media management for the district. So we're looking to have kind of a regional manager, one from Eastern Idaho, which that position has been filled. We actually have 2 over there. Central Idaho, I still need somebody from, that Twin and surrounding areas. And then Western Idaho, I still need somebody for those 2 areas. And the responsibility of that person is going to be essentially to plan content for throughout the year. So it's going to be thought out, planned campaigns. Their job is to be the Rotary storyteller for the district, to help enhance what the clubs are already doing, to be an additional asset that is out there promoting and sharing the magic of Rotary. So that's their primary role. And then, so it's an attraction tool, but it also is intended to help create more of a community within our own district. So if I'm a member of the Twin Falls Club and the Mountain Home Club is having this event. If we're sharing it through one more channel, i.e. the district's Facebook page, more people will have the opportunity to learn about these events and plug into them so that we have more of this kind of cross-pollination between clubs. So that's the idea of it there. It's both an attraction purpose through storytelling, but also to help interconnect these clubs and the members within them to expand the community of Rotary. So if you have somebody in your club that you think is social media savvy and would be interested in this, I'd love to visit with them. I'm hoping at district conference to bring this team together and do a little bit of planning work. And then next, I want to give a big shout out of congratulations. First off, I want to say that 28 of the clubs have positive membership growth. That is a great, good news story. But I wanted to pay special attention to these particular 6 clubs that have more than 10% growth, which is phenomenal. I know that that is not accidental. That means that they're really working on vibrancy, and I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate these clubs on their phenomenal membership growth. So again, the point of these calls and why we're meeting for 45 minutes once a quarter to talk about best practices. So when we're talking about membership, instead of talking about how do we get more people, we want to focus on how do we make our clubs really vibrant. And so why are we focused on that? Well, if you attended the Boise Midwinter Conference, I've already shared this information with you. I hadn't shared it up until that point. And the reason was I had been sharing this message of membership engagement and it being the key to our membership growth. And then I had a conversation with somebody and I thought, man, this message is just not getting through. So I need to tell this story in a little bit of a different way. So I went hunting for some data. So the 2 numbers that you see on the screen here, I hope help further support this message and this idea. So today, the district's membership is 1,845 members. July 1, we were at 1,814 members. So we've had a little bit of an increase. Now, we know what happens at the end of each semi-annual time period. We have a few people that drop off rosters because clubs are cleaning up those rosters in anticipation of having to pay dues. So I don't know where we're going to end up in June 30, but hopefully it's a good positive direction. So that's where we're at today, 1845. The number on the left, 657, and the number on the right, 727, they represent 2 different things. From a time period between July 1 of 2012 to June 30 of 2015. So over a 3-year period, we gained 657 members during that 3-year period of time. We gained 657 new Rotarians. During that same 3-year period of time, we lost 727 Rotarians. So we slid backwards, obviously. But you know, as I think shocking, we essentially turned over a third of our membership during a 3-year period. And I think as shocking, of that 727, those people that left, about 50% of them had been in the club for less than 2 years. So, you know, there's a couple things that are going on there. Number one, you know, are we really checking for alignment when people join Rotary? Are we understanding what is their purpose for being here? And are we what they're really looking for? And having a really good conversation about that up front so that we communicate and clarify expectations and everybody's on the same page. So that's number one. But then number 2, once they get in the club, are they engaged? Are they finding their place? Is it relevant to them? And so, you know, that's what these quarterly meetings are all about, relevancy and vibrancy. So again, you know, we got lots of people coming in the front door, but our issue is they're going out the back door. So we need to focus on retention as much or more than we do attraction. I don't ever want to be heard to say that we never focus on bringing in new people. We're always going to do that, and we obviously already do that well. But we really need to spend our energy and time on that other side. So that leads us to the topic of today's discussion, how to run a great meeting. Because, of course, this is how the majority of Rotarians experience Rotary. You know, they're involved in some service projects, but the majority of your Rotary time, if you think about it, happens at the club meetings. So it's really important that that time is spent well. So I was talking to Mary Ann Barker, my Rotary mentor, about this particular subject matter, and she said, I have the perfect person. You need to ask Terry Rowe. And so Terry has agreed to speak to us today about how to run a great meeting. She has some great tips and insights. So I am going to attempt, Terry, to turn over the keyboard to you, and we'll see if it works.
Okay, sounds good.
And let me know if it doesn't, and if not, I will advance the slides for you. You should have control now.
Okay, something is starting to happen.
Is it working?
No, it's not.
Okay, that's all right. So you'll just let me know. Okay, so we'll get started. Please welcome Terry, everybody. Let's go ahead, Terry. Take it away.
Well, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with you today and to talk about why a great meeting matters. So let's go to that next slide.
Okay, we're there.
Okay, you know, it really boils down to a race to the finish. I think we all like to see our clubs grow, but people really don't always like going to meetings. Most of the time they have a lot of other priorities that are tugging at their needs. So it's really difficult to know whether or not you want to attend a meeting. So how do we make the meetings the best that we can? Well, the first thing that we need to look at is engagement. You know, the more people we get involved, the better the meeting is, and you can feel that synergy and energy start to grow when people start to really be engaged, not just looking up front at you if you're the presiding officer, but really getting engaged with what's going on. And that is what the people who visit with us, or the people who are new in our clubs, or those who are starting to get a little bit of time under their belt, look for. Is this how I want to spend my time? And is this what I want to come back to every week? So we can change our slide. Hopefully this is not what all of you are seeing. We don't want our members to be half asleep, and we meet early in the morning, so there's a good chance that could happen. We want to keep them engaged and really get them excited about coming to their meetings every week. Next slide.
Okay, we're there.
Well, the best way to run a good meeting is to be prepared for that meeting. Most meetings shouldn't last more than 15 to 20 minutes because we really are not doing a whole lot of additional business other than what may come up on your agenda. So your preparation is really important. Make sure that you check with your committee members and your other officers to see if there's something that they would like to have added to the agenda. I have found that to be very helpful so that I don't miss anyone, but also so that the information that is timely gets out to our members. It's always consistent, but there's always something that's a curveball in my meetings just to keep them interested to see what might happen next. Programs are the most important thing that we can offer to our members and our visitors because it's the education that keeps us engaged with our communities. And our communities is where we find our projects and our real drive to help and be of service to other people. So we want to make sure that those programs are exciting and varied, that we're planned out in advance, and that we have an alternative speaker option available. Now this is really important that it's planned in advance because we want our presenters to be very comfortable with being at the meeting and making their presentation. For most of the presenters, they need to have audio-visual equipment. We need to make sure it's in good working order for them. We need to determine the exact kind of equipment that they're going to need. We also owe it to them to let them know how the meeting is going to run, not just their portion. We always welcome ours with their meal, introduce them to everyone who's there so they feel comfortable, and we make sure that they are introduced when we go through introductions, and so people are already starting to think about that person's name. Then I always make sure that they know how long they have, how long for questions, and that way they feel comfortable in what time frame they are needing to be within, and also what to do when it's time for them to wrap up. Especially during question and answer time, it can really become quite the ball game. So during that time, I usually have a sign that has been set up with the presenter that I will give them, or that they can look to me and know that it's time for them to start wrapping it up. We also make sure that they're comfortable with staying just a little bit later in case there's more questions or more involvement with that particular program presenter. Next slide, please. Program committees. In our club, our president-elect is the one who does the arrangements for the programs and then assigns them to the members in groups of 3 or 4 to come up with the programs for the year. As a matter of fact, they also have alternative programs that are available to them through several different venues, those being other Rotarians. Sometimes it is videos that are available online to us about Rotary and about our projects, such as water projects or polio. And they also do the follow-up to make sure that they have actually engaged their speakers, who they are, so it can be put on our Facebook page as well as putting it in our bulletin that goes out every week. The responsibilities are rotated so it always keeps things fresh and from a different perspective all the time. We also give them what that month's title is, hoping that we can actually encourage the participation in what's been set out by Rotary to give us as a guideline. Now, there are designated committees in some of the clubs, which is a really great role for getting people connected with each other and bringing out some of the most energetic and the most creative people. They gather together and come up with ideas about who to have for programs and how to contact the people that are necessary, as well as get creative on some other ideas that will really pique the interest of our members. That kind of a committee really can be beneficial when it comes to having someone else in your back pocket available for a program should your speaker not show up for some reason. Now, the be selective is really kind of a tough one at times when you think about it. When someone approaches us and wants to give a program, how do we say no? Well, we look to our 4-way test for one thing. Is it beneficial to all concerned? Sometimes it's not quite appropriate for our venue. So what I will do is say that, you know, it doesn't fit in with our program right now, or it doesn't fit with our particular focus. However, we will keep your name for the future and also give them ideas of other places where they might go to make their presentation. Don't be afraid to say no. It is really much better for them and for our club if we pay close attention to what the programs are and kind of do a quick edit, such as someone who wants to come in and do a political talk or something that's in the headlines in our local areas. Next slide. This is interesting. The location, is it an attractor or a detractor? Most people really enjoy going to their meetings, but there needs to be certain things that make them feel comfortable but not sleepy, like that slide we saw earlier. And one of those things is, what kind of a room is it? Does it smell okay? Is the food maybe the smell that you have? Is it light? Is it dark? Is it conducive to running audio-visual equipment? A lot of times we get a real sense of pride when we have the opportunity to show our banners and our flags and how our room is set up. also always having at the forefront what our international symbol and saying is for the year. We want to make sure it's welcoming to people when they come in, that they feel good about being there. We want to make sure that we have a greeter. That is a really important job because people need to feel welcome as they come in, and so do the people who are our visitors and those people who are our programs for the day. We want them to feel that it's a very inviting environment. We also want to make sure that the food is appropriate. Now, I will mention there are some clubs that have decided not to have food, and or they have had their meeting and then later they order off the menu. It's really funny. A really good meeting can be made or broken by what kind of food is being served. And again, I'll touch on that audio-visual equipment. Make sure that several people in the club know how to use it, because you never know when there might be an issue even though you've practiced. So always make sure you know how to use it and that the person who is providing the program feels comfortable using it and or having them helped. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, we put a lot of information in our bulletin that goes out every week, and it's a synopsis of our last meeting, who the speakers were, who attended that was a guest, and pertinent information from that meeting. It is really a good tool to send out to invite other people to attend. They can kind of see how the meetings are run or what the club does and some of the highlights. We also use it as a calendar to remind all of us what things are happening when, and that includes all over the state, because you never know when we might be out and about somewhere and want to visit and do a makeup or a pre-makeup. It also is a good way to remind our members what's going on next week and what that new program will be. It also gives them a heads up if they remember that they need to let me know on an agenda item that they are wanting to speak. We also have some printed material, and that is usually available to our members at the meetings, and that has things that are very important, such as things that need deadlines met, RILA, the camps, the district meeting, the sign up for district meeting, the information that they need for taking care of their own personal business as a Rotarian. We also have a website, and that website includes information that's going on around the district as well as our own club, and we're also always posting pictures of events or events that are coming up. Not everyone is as comfortable with email as they are with maybe Facebook. So we make sure that all the information is there for them to glean. And I think it is a way of reminding everyone that they can go anywhere with an invitation for someone to attend a meeting, and they can get that information off of our website. Next slide. The meeting format. Well, that was one thing that I was really interested in when I first became president. I like the fact that it's orderly and we know what to expect. And in a way, I guess it is a tradition, but it's the best way to keep us time conscious. You know, a lot of times we spend time with tradition, and there may be a concern by newer members or even tired members that too much tradition, we need to move on, what does that have to do with this or that? So the best way to find out what is important to our membership is to do a quick survey. We have found those to be quite helpful. We don't usually ask more than 3 questions, especially when we were looking at changing our venue or changing our menu. So asking them what is relevant to them today is really important to help us to be able to be good leaders. When it comes to whether or not there's too much ceremony or not enough ceremony, I think we need to be cautious. I have also found that sometimes when there's a change of officers, it happens in kind of a comical way, or here you are, this is the new team, when in fact it's really a way of respecting them by having an induction ceremony. They really truly need to realize the jobs that they've taken on are important to the governance of our clubs, as well as the members need to be able to see them and hear their charges so that they know that they are taking some responsibility in this, that they elected those people to be in leadership roles. It doesn't have to be long and drawn out, but I do think giving the respect and the time to your governing body is really an important one. I think our district sets a good example. Not too much, just about right. Always welcome our guests and our members with enthusiasm. You know, we can set the mood as the presiding officer or the greeter at the door. Oh my goodness, if we're not there with smiles and handshakes with the real Rotary enthusiasm, we can really dictate what that meeting is going to feel like. We also need to be very careful on time. All of us are running a tight ship, and everyone has a place to be following the meetings. So we need to make sure that we're always following our guideline, our agenda, to get us through and on time. There's always going to be a little bit here or there that's going to throw us off, but all that is a little hiccup. Have your watch handy, your phone handy, and keep your time the way that you know it needs to run to give our presenters that day of the program enough time to present and feel comfortable and not rushed. How do you manage it and stick to it? Well, for me, it's making sure that my meeting only lasts for about 15 to 20 minutes. That way we have time to get the program in and done. Sometimes people will let you know that the program is going to run over a little bit, so take care in seeing what you can eliminate and what you need to keep. I have to say that there are times that even though you're having fun, it can take a little bit of extra time out of that meeting that you need to watch closely. So remember to keep things in order, but don't discourage the fun and the networking that the members are having, especially during fine time and anything that gets them into the mood to be able to share. Next slide.
Okay.
I guess that's the segue right into have fun. And our Sergeant of Arms are very important people to our clubs. You know, selecting the right person is really important because if they are fun-loving and they really do kind of have a way about them of getting people all to participate, then that really sets more of the mood for the meeting. It's really a good idea to have us talk with them before they accept that role as the Sergeant of Arms and kind of give them an idea as to what they can do to help make it more fun, because they are the warm-up act for the rest of the meeting. I think that that's one of the enjoyable things, and it's also something that can be explained to those people who visit with us, that this is how we start our meeting to get everybody woke up and ready to go for the meeting. Let's talk about recognition. It ties into some of those traditions that we talked about in the last slide. It's really important that during the milestones for our members and for our club that we pay attention to those traditions and really give it a little bit of extra spunk. Some of those things may be special thanks for thank yous or jobs well done. I think thanking our members for stepping in or for taking care of different things. We have our beer fest and our pancake breakfast that are two big jobs, and I don't think that we can thank those committees enough. So always be sure to add some time to do those thank yous. We don't do birthdays, but what a fun way of remembering what happened that day. But let's talk about the blue badges. In our club, we have to earn our blue badge, and we have a whole list that we follow with our mentor to get us through and really help us to understand Rotary at its fullest and to get things checked off so that we can become a blue badge. Because of the list and because of the care of the mentors, we know it's a big deal to finally get to and have our blue badge. So take time with that, bring them forward, make a deal about switching out that red badge for the blue badge, and make that member feel as honored as they should be for having reached that goal. I think it sets the tone, too, for them feeling like they want to jump in and be part of other committees, as well as to help get the work done in the club. Next slide. The format, handling with care. Introductions are a big deal. We want to make sure everybody is properly introduced with respect. And we want to also make sure that our programs are also introduced with respect. And to give a little bit of information about the person is always nice, because a lot of times it could be someone who's truly interested in joining Rotary. In our town there's 3 Rotaries, so people make choices based on the synergy they feel and how they were received when they visited. Important moment is a Paul Harris. My gosh, I will never forget getting my Paul Harris because it was done so nicely, and I felt truly honored to be among the people who have Paul Harris pens on and are awarded them. Make sure that everyone at the meeting knows what the Paul Harris Awards are for, because sometimes our members are relatively new or think they know, but it never hurts to go back and revisit what are these things and what is a Paul Harris Award. Being respectful of the time for your meeting goes both ways, so your members know pretty much after a while what to expect from a new presiding officer. So we want to protect that speaker's time, and that program committee usually is the one who wants to make sure that our speaker is going to have plenty of time for their presentation as well as their questions and answers. We want to make sure that we thank everyone by name. I personally write notes for each one of the people who give our presentations, as well as sending a thank you note to those who have arranged for the program. It's important that they know that they're appreciated because it's a lot of work to get those programs together. I also remember to send a note to the people who were not at that meeting, letting them know that we missed them and what the program was, and we look forward to seeing them at the next meeting. I guess it's kind of old-fashioned in a way, but there's never enough please and thank you to go around. So just remember that it's what we like to hear, we also want to give. Next slide. The main point is talking about this today is about our success in our clubs and our meetings. When we are full of energy, full of excitement, and we explain to those present what we're doing, when we're doing it, and giving them all of the information they need to be able to be part of what's going on, it is highly successful. They see it in the members and their attention that they're giving and their reports that they're involved in. We can feel it. They want to be part of it. They want to be there. They raise their hands. They say, I want to be part of this. When something comes out from the district, they ask more questions. They want to know. Matter of fact, Jennifer, when it was brought up what you were looking for earlier in the first slides, I noticed at our club, no one said anything, but then I received several emails wanting to know more about it because they just might be interested. That comes from having an energetic and a synergetic meeting that provides enough information for those people who really want to be involved to get involved. And they want to share themselves, and they want to share our clubs. They want to have the opportunity to make a difference. And that is the most important thing we can offer any of our club members, is letting them show their need and their energy to others. Okay, I guess that wraps it up in a long way, but having a great meeting is really the basis of what keeps people involved and keeps them there.
Thank you so much, Terry. Those are all fantastic points, and I wanted to open it up now. So I wanted to have a little bit of sharing of best practices. If you have questions or ideas you want to share, and then um, as I've promised, I want to keep it to 45 minutes. So I'll wrap it up in time to just share a few key dates with you, upcoming save the date type information. So I've unmuted everybody's line, and you should be able to speak up and share, or you can send a chat message if you prefer. So I'm just going to start off with, you talked about using the bulletin as a good reminder to share, to invite other people to Rotary, but also just kind of as a visual for your members to go, oh yeah, Rotary and what's coming. One little comment, just a technical comment I wanted to make to you. So for those of you that are using the Club Runner Bulletin, you can change the subject line of the email that goes out every week. And that one little thing that you do increases significantly their chance, their likelihood of opening that email and actually reading it. If it just says newsletter bulletin from the Rotary Club of, Nampa, they may or may not open it. But if it has some enticing tagline that doesn't quite tell them the whole story, that makes them then want to open up that email, and you've all gotten emails like that are coming from people that are trying to get you to open up that email and see what they're talking about. The same goes for Rotary. So when you're sending out that bulletin, if you can figure out how to kind of make that email subject line a little bit more enticing, they're going to be more likely to read it. And again, then you want to constantly be reminding them, don't forget to forward your bulletin email, invite, other people that you think would like to hear that speaker. So, it's a little bit of a tool. So I'll be quiet now. What other best practices do people have that they'd like to share? Questions, things that you're wondering about running your club meeting?
Hey, this is Tim
Hi,
at
Tim.
Gate City.
Hi,
Hey,
Tim.
hey, thanks for this. It's really appreciated. The question I have, just in terms of practical stuff, is like yesterday at our meeting, we actually had one of our state legislators came and presented, and there was one of our Rotarians who had their 4 or 5 year old kid there that because mom was busy doing something, he ended up having to bring the kid, and the kid decided he was doing a little raffle thing that people could buy tickets or whatever. And so in the middle of this, of our state legislator, sharing her stuff and whatever, this little kid, as this paper was being passed and he was going around to different tables and things like this, and it was like, as far as I'm concerned, totally rude and
Yeah.
whatever, and should not have been going on. And that's what's the best way to instruct about that? Or I mean, does that happen at other clubs where you're dealing with that kind of stuff? Or I mean, I know that there's ground rules, I guess, in terms of what.
So does this happen regularly at your club? Does this happen before? Oh,